Have you been so sure about something, like absolutely certain, only to find out that you're wrong this entire time? Don't worry, you're not alone. This isn't just brain fart. You might be experiencing something called the Mandela Effect. Think about it this way. What if the memories you held over the years, the ones you'd swear on, weren't real? What if millions of people remember the exact same thing and all of them were wrong? Hello there, people of the internet. I'm your host, Mint, and welcome to today's conspiracy theory. If you like these types of content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe as we'll be covering more in the upcoming future. I also quickly want to say Happy New Year's to each and every one of you. Now, without any further ado, let's dive into something that can change reality. The Mandela Effect gets its name from, yep, you guessed it, Nelson Mandela. Back in 2009, a woman named Fiona Broome was at a conference when she casually mentioned how she clearly remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison back in 1980s. She even recalled watching the news report about his funeral. But here's the kicker though. Nelson Mandela didn't die in the prison. He passed away in 2013, decades later. But here's the weird part, right? Fiona wasn't alone. Tons of people from different parts of the world had the exact same memory. They all remembered Mandela's death in the 80s, down to the tiniest details. How is that even possible? It's so strange that Fiona gave this phenomenon a name, the Mandela Effect. And ever since then, people have been uncovering more of these collective false memories. Examples that make you stop and think, well, am I losing my mind? Or maybe we all are. Either way, whatever it might be, buckle up. Because we're about to go down a rabbit hole that will have you questioning everything. Let's dive into the craziest Mandela effect and try to figure it out. Is it our brains playing tricks, or is it reality itself glitching? So, how is it possible that millions of people can remember the exact same thing and all of them are wrong? That's where collective false memory comes in. This isn't just an individual brain glitch, it's something we're all experiencing together. Collective false memory happens when a group of people share a memory that isn't based in reality. And trust me, this is way more common than you think. Think about urban legends, those wild stories we all heard growing up, like how swallowing gum takes 7 years to digest, or how lightning never strikes at the same place twice. Not true, but we all believed it, didn't we? It's like a game of telephone, but instead of one person passing a story to another, an entire group of people start reinforcing the same idea, even if it's wrong. Once the idea spreads, it feels real, and your brain, well, it just goes along with the ride. So, how do these shared false memories get started? Psychologists think it's a mix of how our brain works, the power of suggestion, and the way we influence each other. Let's break it down into three parts. So, first, let's talk about memory reconstruction. Your brain isn't like a video camera recording everything perfectly. Instead, it rebuilds memories every time you recall them. But here's the catch, each time you remember something, it gets a little less accurate. You start filling in gaps with what feels right or with things you've heard from others. Think of your memory like a puzzle. When you're missing a few pieces, your brain doesn't panic. It just grabs a piece that kind of fits and fills the gap. And boom, now your memory feels complete. The problem? That the puzzle might not belong there at all. Now, imagine you're sharing that memory with someone else. Maybe they remember something differently. Wasn't Aunt Linda wearing a red dress that day? And suddenly, you start picturing the red dress even though Aunt Linda wasn't there. That's how easy it is for false details to creep in. Your brain does this swapping trick all the time without you noticing. Here's the mind blowing example. Do you remember the famous line from Star Wars? Luke, I am your father. Hate to break it to you, but that's not what Darth Vader said. The actual line is, no, I am your father. So, why do we all remember it differently? Because somewhere along the way, pop culture reconstructed that memory for us. We heard the wrong version so many times that our brain just went, close enough. Next, there is social influence. Ever been in a conversation where someone says, remember that time? And you don't remember it at first, but they sound so sure you just went, Oh, yeah, that's social influence at work. We trust what others say, especially when we're in a group. So, here's how it works, right? When someone says something with confidence, like the Monopoly guy definitely had a monocle, your brain starts to doubt itself. Even if you didn't remember the monocle at first, the more people agree, the more you're likely to think that there was a monocle. Yeah, that sounds right. And boom, you have just adopted a false memory. When thousands of people online say they remember something a certain way, it's hard not to believe them. I mean, if everyone remembers the Berenstain Bears spelled with an E, then it must be that way, right? Nope. This is why social media is such a breeding group of Mandela Effect. It's like one giant echo chamber. One person brings up a false memory, others jump in saying that they remember the same thing. And before you know it, it feels like a shared truth. Now, it's not about the internet. Social influence has been shaping our memories long before we had smartphones. Think about how often we go along with the group, even when we're not totally sure. Like, ever been in a meeting where everyone goes along with the idea and you think, am I the only one who doesn't remember it that way? So you just nod along. And finally, the power of media. Movies, TV shows, even memes, they all play a huge role in shaping our memories. Remember the famous line from the Snow White? Most of us think the evil queen says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall." But the actual line is,
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
so where did we get it wrong? Probably from pop culture quoting it incorrectly.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, is this not the most perfect kingdom of them all?
Well,
The media is like a massive amplifier. It takes one little mistake, repeats it over and over, and suddenly the wrong version becomes more familiar than the truth. And our brains, well, they just eat it up because it feels right. So here's how it happens, right? Someone misquotes something in a popular movie, song, or even an ad. Maybe it's intentional, like changing a line to make it more catchier. Or maybe it's just an honest mistake. Either way, once it's out there, the media keeps spreading it. And before you know it, the wrong version becomes one we all recognize. Parodies and remixes are another huge factor. Shows like The Simpsons or Saturday Night Live love to poke fun at pop culture. But when they tweak a famous line or scene, it sticks in our head. And over time, their version starts to replace the original. Here's where it gets even thicker. Advertising companies love to use nostalgia to sell products, but sometimes they don't get the details right. They'll tweak a logo or a slogan or even a beloved character to make it more eye catching. And because we see these ads so often, they shape our memories of the original. When you mix all these things together, of how our brain works, the influence of people around us, and pop culture constantly feeding us slightly wrong version of reality, it's no wonder so many of us have the same false memories. And here's the wild part, right? Once a false memory spreads, it's like a wildfire, right? People start remembering details that never existed. It's not just like, I think I remember it, it's, I know I remember it. And that's what makes the Mandela effect so fascinating. And honestly, a little creepy. Now, you must be wondering, why does this Mandela effect feel so real? It's because something called confabulation. That's just a fancy word of saying when our brain feels right to fill the gaps in our memories to create a story that makes sense. The thing is, your brain isn't trying to trick you. It's trying to protect you. It's saying, don't worry, I got this. Even if it makes stuff up. And since the story makes sense, you trust it. After all, why wouldn't you trust your own mind? Confabulation also pulls from what psychologists call schema memory. This is when our brain groups similar things together, based on pattern we've seen before. I mean, rich guy, mustache, top hat, monocle. It just makes sense. But here's the truth. The Monopoly man never had a monocle. Let me give you another one, right? Curious George have a tail. Most people picture him swinging from trees with one, but surprise, he never had a tail. Our brain fills in a tail because we expect monkeys to have them. That's confabulation, a turning false assumption into a memory. Now, here's the wild part. Confabulated memories don't feel fake. They feel just as vivid and as real as your actual memories. That's because your brain uses emotions and context to make the new details fit seamlessly into the story. It's like having movie editor in your head who's a little too creative. Our first theory is straight out of a science fiction novel, parallel universe. It sounds crazy, but hear me out. Some people believe that the Mandela effect happens because we are tapping into memories from alternate realities. Maybe we are living in one universe, but in another universe, things are a little different. And sometimes we catch a glimpse of those differences. Fans of this theory say that our memories are leaking from these other universes. Maybe one version of us remembers the Monopoly guy having a monocle, but the other version doesn't. So we end up with this glitch in the Matrix where two realities overlap. Now, I know it sounds like something from Stranger Things, but it is one of the more popular theories people love to talk about, when especially it comes to Mandela effects. Well, next up we have time travel. Okay. If alternate realities don't do it for you, maybe time travel is to blame. Some people think that the time travelers have been messing with history, changing small events in the past, and that's why we remember things differently. Now, imagine a time travel went back in time and changed one little thing. Maybe they went and edited the line in Star Wars or made a tiny tweak in a famous logo. It seems a bit insufficient, but it's enough to throw off everyone's memories. And bam, the Mandela effect happens. According to this theory, the changes made by the time travelers are so subtle that we don't even notice them at first. Over time, the new version of history becomes the true memory, and we all get confused. The last theory I'll talk about is the false memory phenomenon. This is the idea that the Mandela effect is just a result of how our brains naturally store and reconstruct memories. Think of it like our brains are like filing cabinets, right? But sometimes they just get jumbled up. Over time, memories get mixed up with other details, and we accidentally remember things that didn't happen the way they did. It's all about how we reconstruct memories, which can be influenced by things like suggestion, stress, or just plain old confusion. This theory doesn't need a parallel universe or time travels to explain Mandela effect. It's just our brains trying to make sense of the world, but sometimes they get a little creative in the process. So, there you have it. Some of the wildest, most mind-bending theories about Mandela effect. Are we tapping into alternate realities? Is it time travel causing confusion? Or is it just the way our brains working? The truth is we don't know for sure. But one thing's for certain, the Mandela effect is here to stay. And it's making us question everything we thought we knew. What do you think? Are we just living in a world where our memories are easily shaped, or is there something more strange happening? Could we really be slipping into parallel universe, or are we simply prisoners of our own mind? Well, the truth is, it might just be out of our reach. Or maybe it's been right in front of us all this time. But one thing's for sure, these mystery is far from over. But with that being said, I've been your host, Mint. Take care of yourself, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. I'm so confused. Hold on, Mileage, sorry.